Hi, my name is Raffi, author of Parents' Practical Guide to Special Education. Tune in to my exclusive discussion, chapter by chapter, every Friday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hey there, it's Raffi, your author. I am an educator and teach in K-12. I work with students who are identified as having special needs, which makes me an education specialist or a special education teacher. Whatever term you want to use is your own. At my current position, it feels like I am more of an education specialist than a special educator. The typical special education teacher has a classroom of 1 to 18 students, depending on the type of class, and works in a brick-and-mortar school. Brick-and-mortar schools are ones that have buildings and physical classrooms. As for me, I am more comfortable being called an education specialist. I work from home for a charter school whose name I cannot disclose, and I do not work with the same group of students all day. I have a caseload of students for whom I conduct individual education plans and a group of students which I teach. The students may or may not be the same in both groups. I work using Zoom platform, an easy integrative system through which I am able to teach using the very same methods as in the classroom and beyond, as I am able to access any file at my disposal during this class in order to use it for the purposes of teaching. Well, that's me, an education specialist, and so what am I doing with this book? The title says it all. I want to help you, the parents, navigate the world of American education when it comes to your students, and particularly with regard to students with special needs. You see, this book's purpose is to demystify special education by sharing the process and how to respond. This ebook is designed to be read straight through, as it is more of a conversation than a history book. Hi, my name is Raffi, author of Parents' Practical Guide to Special Education. Tune in to my exclusive discussion, chapter by chapter, every Friday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hello everyone, my name is Raffi Avakian, author of Parents' Practical Guide to Special Education. I'll be continuing today with Chapter 3, The Significance of Recall. I'll be reading it and also explaining what I talk about. So here we are, discussing disorders, or shall we say, orders. Yes, they are orders. It's what makes a child different from any other. In most cases, children with sensory differences have something to offer that is beyond comprehension. Did you know that Beethoven was deaf? I'm sure you've heard of that somewhere. If not, a quick Google search will astonish you. How could someone who cannot hear produce such great classical works? The only real answer to this is that Beethoven had a brain, and the brain is the most powerful piece of hardware in the world. So guys, I want to do a little commentary here. I have a hearing aid. I wear a hearing aid. I've had it for 5 to 7 years. And it's tuned to know how much hearing I need to balance out whatever I need. So if I need more of a certain type of sound, it gives me that. And I get it checked every year. So something like a hearing aid could be really, really beneficial for a student with hearing impairment, like I was. Or you could also opt for other accommodations in classroom, such as having your student or your child sit in the front or in the middle. Middle is really helpful, but it depends on the noises of everyone else, of students, of course. But also the best part is sitting in front. So for example, if I go to a movie theater, I sit in the middle. A movie theater is nice because things are quiet, and I sit in the middle because the best sound is in the middle, like in the movie theater. So in the movie theater, you want to help your kids with hearing impairment, sit in the middle, in the front, in the middle, not in the front. But in a classroom, it's a good idea to sit your child in the front. Okay, you're gonna ask your teacher for that. That's why it's important. That's why in the last couple chapters, I discuss how it's important for you to have and maintain relationships with your teachers. They'll give you an insight of what's going on, and ins and outs of the classroom, and how your child is doing. And that way you could gauge, and then you could discuss maybe the idea of having your child sit in the front if they have vision or hearing related issues. So we're going to be continuing. And this, I'm also talking about the power of the human brain, right? I'm continuing that. I was discussing that a little bit in chapter 2. The only real answer to this is that Beethoven had a brain, and the brain is the most powerful piece of hardware in the world. No nano computer, no supercomputer, no high-tech software ever created, built, made, whatever, could come near or surpass the abilities of the human brain. In fact, I asked ChatGPT if it could come near or surpass the brain's capabilities. Excuse me. So I asked ChatGPT this very question, and you wouldn't believe how honest his answer turned out. ChatGPT said, "As an AI, I have certain capabilities that can seem impressive compared to human abilities, especially when it comes to information processing and recall. However," we'll stop right there. Notice how if you listen to chapter 2, in chapter 2 I discuss the main differences between students with disabilities and students with not disabilities is processing and recall, process and recall information. Did you notice that? Okay, so now let's go back to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is saying that he feels that his or her or their capabilities are impressive when it comes to their information processing and recall. Look at that, light bulb. However, AI, including me, ChatGPT is saying, is far from matching the overall capabilities of the human brain. Human brains are remarkable in their ability to comprehend context, exhibit common sense, process emotions, perceive the world, and more. While AI has made significant strides, it does not possess consciousness or subjective experiences, which are fundamental aspects of the human brain. Additionally, this is ChatGPT talking, my training is limited to the data I've been fed, whereas humans constantly learn and adapt from new experiences in a way that AI cannot yet replicate. Excuse me. So that's from ChatGPT themselves. Okay? So here I'm going and continue. Wait a second. Did you read the part about processing and recall? Having just seen this, the hairs on my back rose. What does that mean? That it's good at processing and recall? What does that have to do with students? Those are questions I would like to table for later. Meanwhile, we got our original question answered. ChatGPT just shared that although it is capable of some impressive stuff, it is not able to do many of the things your child can do, as well as the child with the most debilitating of disabilities. Why? Because all humans possess the ability to learn. Yes, that is right. All children, all adults, all humans, regardless of their race, gender, color, upbringing, etc., have the ability to learn that goes beyond the capabilities of the most powerful computer-generated AI models. AI model is learning from what people give it. Kids with the worst of disabilities are learning from the environment around them, not what other people give them, but the environment around them, which includes what people say and what people do, obviously, right? But they can also learn on their own, right? Which AI is not doing, not learning on its own. Therefore, I come to this very important point, and number one mistake a parent can make when it comes to their child. Here it is. Why am I talking about all this? Why am I talking about AI? Why am I talking about your kid's brain? Why? Because the number one mistake a parent can make when it comes to their child, it is actually a thought process that destroys any chances you might provide for your child in order for them to genuinely succeed in life. Here it goes. It's your thought. And what's that thought? My child can't do that. Let that sit for a moment. My child can't do that. When was the last time you thought that? What are things that you could really point out?
In progress.
All right, so my child can't do that. My child can't hold a violin, sing in the opera, dribble a basketball, play a note on the piano, read book X, add 2 plus 2, do advanced arithmetic, read multisyllabic words, balance on one leg, etc. You name it. This single thought, no matter how true it may look to you, is the number one killer of motivation for both you and your child to succeed in whatever it is you believe that they are incapable of doing. I will add to this by saying, give anyone sufficient resources, sufficient training, and an environment of love and care, and you will see them flourish. Let that one sit there for a second. Think about the last time you gave somebody sufficient time to prove themselves, sufficient resources, and an environment of love and care. How did they respond? How did they act? Now, on the same token, think about the time where you gave your child with sufficient resources, sufficient training, and an environment of love and care. How did your child respond? How did you feel? Now take a deep breath. Breathe in. Twice with your nose. One long one, one short one with your nose. In. Hold for 2 seconds. And breathe out with your mouth. Let that sit in. Because for some of you, this would bring anxiety. Because this goes back to, what did I do at home? It could be sobering. It's self-reflective. And that's what it's used for. But these exercises are really important. Because the number one thing is this practical guide to special education is for the parents, for you guys. For your listeners, for your readers, to learn and to adapt and to help your child. So that's really important. Give anyone sufficient resources, sufficient training, and an environment of loving care, and you will see them flourish. This is one of the most important takeaways from this book. And part of my main philosophy. Okay, so I'm going to continue talking about it. This idea not only stems from psychology, but it is also deeply rooted in biology. How is it, Raffi, you may ask? And what does a reader or reading teacher know about biology? Well, here's how I talk about myself a little bit. Well, I was a biology major in college, and to be honest, that is not even close to how much biology I ended up learning. You see, at some point in my life, I wanted to become an ear, nose, and throat doctor. That is, until I saw the copious amounts of blood stemming from one poor woman's nose while the doctor turned around and smiled at me. How embarrassing, I thought. As a biology major who wanted to be a doctor, I was deep diving into DNA and learning about the human body like it was nobody's business. Here's what I learned. And as a matter of fact, you can verify with ChatGPT that this is in fact the truth. So, Parts of your DNA will turn on and off depending on the environment that you are in. You meaning everyone. Humans, people, perhaps even animals. If you are in a comfortable environment when you have all your necessities, you will have genes turned on that otherwise would be turned off if you were not in a safe environment. This is one of the many reasons why humans perform better at tasks when they have their needs met than when they are left without food, shelter, and human affection. Yes, this is another source of the rift between the rich and the poor. What can you do about this? What can anybody do about this? Here it is. Provide your child with a safe environment where the virtues of kindness, goodwill, and love for one another are valued above all others, and watch how your children flourish. Boom. That's a deep one, isn't it? I'm going to continue. In fact, if you just focus on teaching your children academics, I'm going to stop recording 1 second, guys. Alright, thank you guys. So if you're in a comfortable environment where you have all your necessities, you will have genes turned on that otherwise would be turned off if you were not in a safe environment. This is one of the many reasons why humans perform better at tasks when they have their needs met than when they are left without food, shelter, and human affection. Yes, this is another source of the rift between the rich and the poor. Well, what can you do about this? I'm back to here. Provide your child with a safe environment where the virtues of kindness, goodwill, and love for one another are valued above all others, and watch how your children flourish. In fact, if you just focused on teaching your children academics and did not enforce the virtues of love, kindness, and goodwill, I will guarantee you, your child will not flourish in the same way. How come? You may ask me and say, Raffi, I taught them math, reading, writing, and piano diligently. Frankly, I don't even have time to spend any time with my kids. That's the usual problem we have over here. Sad, true. Why would you say that my children would be better off if I hadn't? My answer? Stress. Yes, stress. Stress is one of the most widely misunderstood topics in the world. Right? If you don't give them love and attention and care about them and show them how to care for others, you're going to get wildly stressed out when it comes to all their academic work. And that could causes a lot of people so much anxiety that they freeze up. They won't do the tasks that's required of them. That happens all the time in school. And kids say, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that essay. I don't want to write that. Well, it's because it's a stress response. They have anxiety. There isn't enough. It's not a good environment. They're not in a good environment. They don't feel safe to express themselves, to do their best work. And that's why they don't want to do the work. And so at home, if your child doesn't want to do their homework or doesn't want to listen to you, it's because, there's just some stress. They don't feel like the environment is safe. If you make the environment safe, loving, watch how your child will thrive and change. So that's a little bit about this, but I'm going to expand more. Stress is one of the most widely misunderstood topics in the world. People think stress is bad. Not true. So I'm going to talk about a little bit the good parts of stress. Now, what's good about it? In fact, a little bit of stress is what gets 99% of humans up in the morning. The other 1% is feeling unhealthy, exorbitant, really high amounts of stress that not only occurs once, but it is consistent or chronic in nature. Expose your children to stress on a regular basis without showing them love and without rewarding them. This is what I was talking about earlier. And you will notice a decline in their abilities to process and learn new information. Why? If you don't give them any love, any support, any high fives, any good jobs, and you're making them work, they're going to start hating you. They're not even going to think about the work anymore. They're not thinking about the work. They're not paying attention to the work. They're thinking about how much they hate the parents or how much they hate their teacher because the teacher didn't give them a good job or didn't reward them, right? Didn't give them a safe environment, or you didn't give your child a safe environment at home. That's why their environment is symbiotic. Maybe it's not. Don't go and blame it on the school. It's all at home too, at home and school, everything, all the whole environment. could take a student off their mark, right? We try to teach them to focus and pay attention and stay focused on your goals, right? That's something that grows over time, and kids usually haven't developed that much. And that's why we have to develop environments that are as supportive as possible and as loving as possible for our kids. And half the time they're going to schools, the school environments that aren't supportive, or there's a lot of rough towns, rough areas that they have to navigate to and adapt in. And that's okay, because that's just how life is. We want to make things as supportive and good for them as possible within our abilities. Okay, so let me continue, and I'll be finishing up this paragraph for us. So I'm talking about how not supporting and not rewarding your child, not giving a good environment to your child could cause them so much stress that they will decline. They'll have a decline. However, if you expose them to small amounts of stress, and I'm continuing right now, such as a new information for them to learn, and then you support their learning with rewards such as good job, high five, or tangible such as a new toy, and give them plenty of breaks. So you support them but rewarding them, and if you give them plenty of breaks, you can watch how quickly they develop and meet the goals that have been set out for them. This is your student, your child. You will be astonished. So how do you provide a loving and supporting environment for your kid at home while having them doing their work? Well, you have them doing their homework and their schoolwork and whatever academic work they need to do, but you show them, you provide a supportive environment by rewarding them, by saying good job, by making them feel better, by giving them the breakfast that they wanted today. Maybe they want a cereal or something to reward them and make them feel good and help them to continue working on their goals. And while they're working hard, you can also schedule breaks to help them calm down their nervous system, calm their stress, and then come back. These scheduled breaks are known to help students and professionals. Parents' Practical Guide to Special Education. Next episode will be Chapter 4, Goal Setting in the Context of Education. Thank you so much for listening.